All right, a lot to cover for the left hand. We're going to take them one at a time here, these different concepts, and I'm going to shift the positioning of my camera and shift the position of my guitar. So we're just going to go through these. They are sort of sequential insofar as I do think there's some value in doing it through this order, but partly I just need an order to give you this information in regardless. So one thing you want to keep in mind is the wrist alignment. So just like Scott Timon talks about in pumping nylon, you want to let your arm rest at your side and then feel what that feels like, particularly your wrist, because you want what your wrist feels like now. What's happening is when you lay it down at your side like this, gravity is pushing the wrist to align with the forearm. And then as you raise it up, if I don't engage any wrist muscles to hold it up, gravity's going to flex it. You can see this. So as I go up, it's going to flex and flex and flex. So you want to, and you might have to engage a little bit of wrist muscle to do this, or it might just be from the momentum, but you kind of want to bring it up so that your wrist feels the same alignment that it would when it's down here, when it's up here. And you do that by feeling. You have to feel what it feels like, so what I would do is I'd experiment with bring it up and letting it flex, and then I'd do the opposite and let it extend a little bit from gravity, and then I'd really memorize this feeling and then bring that to the guitar. Because remember, as the wrist moves, that also moves the fingers, which then affects their ability to play. And so what I would do is I'd first practice going up and down. The reason we do the right hand first is you can kind of isolate the right hand. And once you have the right hand down, then you can add the left hand. And ideally, you're not as wrapped up in the right hand because you've been working on it for a while. And that's what I did fall semester of 2023. So what you do is you just pick any position. You can change positions. And you just try to maintain that wrist alignment. Going from treble back to, from bass to treble and then back. You can start the treble, go down. Doesn't matter. You can then do it in a different position. So let me make sure I'm feeling this right. And so keeping in mind that idea of alternating attention, once you start to memorize all the different options, you change between them. So one is paying attention to the wrist alignment. The next is how much abduction and adduction you have and how that relates to the position of the guitar, and also wrist deviation. Like if I want to play a C major chord, given the position I've chosen, I'm going to have to abduct a bit and then play. And then if I want to go to a diminished chord, I'm going to have to change the presentation of the wrist a little bit and maybe elbow out just slightly. I'm exaggerating for the video. Rene talks about that in another video. Now, and it depends on your seating position too, because again, to go down here, I have to rotate and flex and then kind of wrist. Whereas when I'm in this position, all I have to do is use my elbow to bring the guitar to the strings. The other thing you'll want to practice is minimum pressure. So with each string, you'll kind of want to do like, and keep pressing with the fingers. There's two things. You want to press with the fingers, and so one thing you want to learn is this is the first thing you want to do. So you want to practice bringing your arm up and then letting it fall in. What you want to do is you want to feel that you're holding it up when you're not in contact with the strings. Feel the muscular exertion in the shoulder and upper back to hold this up, and then you want to practice letting it fall and feeling that. And when you do that, you're going to press the strings a little bit, but not fully. So these are the ones I'm going to do a C6 chord is what I'm going to do to make this example work a little better. So when I raise it, I feel the tension in the upper chest, shoulders, and back, and then I let it fall into the instrument. And then from there, I try to find what's the least amount of finger exertion to get a good sound from the strings. And the way you do that is by slowly plucking and pressing in with the fingers so you get a nice clear sound. And then you want to memorize that feeling of that minimum pressure that you need, and just do that with everything. If it's scales, same thing. When I first started studying with Rene, I would do this exercise a lot. I'd also do that with jazz chords. And now at this point, I think I have a pretty good feel. What you're trying to feel is, the other thing, the exercise that I would do is take a chord or even a single note and just really squeeze the heck out of it. So really like squeeze with the thumb and the, really just, you can even see like, you can see the muscles here like really contract. You can also see it on this side too. And so you want to, so what I do is I'd exaggerate and go too much, and then I'd relax and let it unload. And then I just try to find that sweet spot in the middle, and then memorize what that feels like. And what eventually happens is your body just sort of internalizes it, and then that's what you do when you play. It's just that right amount of pressure. Also, too, you kind of learn to hang off the neck in addition to that pressure. So I'm always kind of, it's like walking, like you're always, when you walk, you're always in contact with the ground. You want to finger your pieces. So as much as possible, the left hand is always hanging off the instrument, which I'm still getting down. That was very poor playing, actually. I haven't played that piece in a while. The other concept in this exercise is weight shifting. And weight shifting is where you, rather than spreading the fingers or wristing the fingers to spread them, you use a little bit of the shoulder to arm joint. If you're playing more traditional classical, or you want to see it from this angle, it's this. It's a bit of either abduction or rotation. It's just like in the right hand, how you want to kind of position with the shoulder to arm joint rather than reaching with the finger. You want to position with the shoulder to arm joint. It's the same thing, except for scales, and I'm going to exaggerate it. It's and you want it to be sort of continuous. So you're going to go up and then back and then up for all these, and then back and then up for all these, and then down for all these, and back. I'm exaggerating for this, but when you actually see me do it, it's... And this is why I like that analogy of shocks on a bike. Part of it is that it's positioning the finger, but also some of it is that it's kind of moving with it. Sort of like if you kept stiff, the whole arm would have to stay a little stiff. Whereas, like the shocks on the bike, it lets the frame move a little bit with the motion of the fingers. The other thing too is that whether you're doing bar chords or anything else, if you pull in a little bit with the shoulder to arm joint, like for a F bar chord, you're going to also need to press a little bit on the right side contact point, because if you pull for the bar chord, you're going to pull the guitar back, and Rene talks about that. The other thing that Rene talks about with left hand engagement is flexing the tip and middle joint slightly. The idea being that when you're relaxed, you're further out from the strings, whereas when you're, like if you see me trying to get to the E string with that ring finger, I'm a lot further when I'm relaxed. Whereas if you flex in a little bit, now you're right above the fingers, or the strings. And so I would basically practice all the things I just listed using this exercise. So weight shifting. You can pick different spots. Focus on keeping the wrist aligned. Then focus on, engaging the fingers. Then focus on weight shifting. Focus on minimum pressure. So you got to alternate your attention, and then you can also do that with scales. I like 1 octave scales. And then 2 octave scales, there's the Segovia. And there's also one that Rene likes because it doesn't involve any shifting. It's kind of a jazz positional one. It's C, index, D, middle, E. So 3rd fret, index, 5th fret, middle, 7th fret, pinky, 3rd fret, index, 5th fret, middle, 7th fret, pinky, then 4th fret, index, 5th fret, middle, 7th fret, pinky, 5th fret, index, 6th fret, middle, 8th fret, pinky, 5th fret, index, 7th fret, middle, and then pinky on this. And so it's... And what Rene likes about that is, unlike in the Segovia scale, there's no shift, and you can also keep transposing it. So... so that's a couple different exercises that I would use. I don't do 3 octave scales because how often do you... I don't even know if I can still do them. Whatever that old Segovia 3 octave scale is, I don't think my opinion in the classical guitar world is super relevant, but I would like to make this case for not using that scale very often for working technique for 2 reasons. 1, it's difficult, and 2, when do you ever play a 3 octave scale in like the overwhelming majority of classical guitar music? And then within that, even if you do play a large scale, how often do you move like those Segovia scales? I just don't see a lot of value in them, but I will end on that.